Actually, Neil, and this is why I've come on this morning. Morning, Sam, all the way down in the southwest. I hope you haven't been washed away. There's my window over there. We've almost been washed away in Oxfordshire. But this is, any networking comments or questions, pop them down here. This is networking, right? Neil gets it. Neil gets it. And there's two things I'm going to talk about this morning. I'm going to talk about why I am networking, even though I've not been networking this morning. The other thing I'm going to talk about, other thing, which is a tiny bit controversial, is why I think a lot of social media managers are going to be really scared by Periscope at the moment. So here's something that I've written a couple of things about this morning, one on LinkedIn, one on the 4 Networking Forum, and that is about my weekly networking audit. And let me explain this. A load of people go to a load of networking events during the week. They collect loads and loads of business cards. These are the business cards that I've connected just this week from some very, very lovely people that I've met at Banbury and Northampton. And what really intrigues me is that something happens. I've got one, James Ling, you've got one of your networking shirts on. James, I have a wardrobe full of networking shirts. This is actually, believe it or not, one of my working from home shirts, but this is my working from home hair. A load of people do this thing. They collect all of these cards during the week when they're networking. And then when they leave a networking event, a number of things happen. Don't count your cards, make your cards count. Thank you for that, Neil. A number of things happen when any of us leave a networking event, and that's this, that we get a text, we get a phone call, we get an email from our best client, we get an email from our worst client, we get 3 missed calls from our teenage son, that's me a lot of the time, and all of these things happen, and those conversations which we've had at the networking meeting start to drift away. But what most people do, and it really is most people, is that they expect that everyone else's life is different to their life. They expect everyone else to remember exactly what they've talked about in a brief conversation where they're not planning to remember it themselves because real life's got in the way. So I've written on LinkedIn this morning, and I've written on 4 Networking, and I'm going to talk to you guys about it. I've written that, and I strongly advocate that people do a weekly networking audit. And here's what I mean by a networking audit. Go through those business cards that you've picked up during the week. I don't know what you guys normally do with them, whether you file them. What I tend to do with business cards is that I tend to scan them into my phone, scan them into my CRM, and then do something else with them. But before I do that, it's really important to get them as a bit of a memory hook and remember Follow-Up Friday. There you go. Remember the conversations that I've had with people, and particularly remember if I promised to do something, so if I said I would call someone, email someone some information, if I said I'd do one of these things, make sure that I do it and don't break the first promise that I've made to people. And we all do that, and it's really easy to do, but networking, auditing your networking once a week helps you not to do it. If we haven't promised any particular follow-up, if we haven't promised to do anything, I still try to be the first person who follows up. I still try to be the first person who takes action. The action which I take is really simple for me. I go and find the people on LinkedIn, or I find them on Twitter, or I find their Facebook page, or I find wherever they happen to be, and I offer to connect with them. And if I'm doing it on LinkedIn, I've got a little caveat to this. If I'm doing it on LinkedIn on my laptop, I absolutely personalise the message which I send to them. I remind them of the one-to-one which that we had. If I've had a chance to have a look at their LinkedIn profile, which I will, I'll make some comment. I send them a personalised message. I know you can't do that if you use the LinkedIn app on your phone, so my advice changes a little bit around that. So I follow up with them on LinkedIn. If I really can't find them on LinkedIn, I'll send them an email. But really importantly, if you're sending people an email or a LinkedIn message, make it personal. And when I say make it personal, don't just copy and paste interesting information about your business which you think will be of interest to them. Get onto their turf and talk about the who sends a thank you card. See, that's a terrific idea. Hey, I'm going to give you another tip in a minute. You've just mentioned thank you cards. I'm going to give you something which will blow your mind, which I'm really getting into at the moment. I've got an example. down here, which I'll show you in a second. And even if you don't like to write, I've got another example. But if you're going to send people an email message, make it personal. Don't just copy and paste stuff. Actually relate to, hey Steve, we had this conversation, this is what we talked about. If you think that there's business in that conversation, then pick up the phone and talk to people and be honest about it. You don't just need to organise a coffee. Actually, if you think there's business, if you think you want to buy from them, or if you think there's a reason why, one of the best things I've learned from yourself, thank you, Steve Wyvern, personalising LinkedIn connections, it makes a difference. Thank you very much for that. If you're going to pick up the phone and follow up with people, be honest about the reason you're picking up the phone. You're in business to do business, so don't hide behind the fact that you're just arranging a coffee. Don't hide behind the fact that you just fancy a catch-up. If you think you want to buy from them, or you're expecting that they'll be interested in what you're interested in, then be honest. Hello, Sammy HSN, I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly. People like people. So if you're going to follow up actively, if you think there's business there to be done quite soon, then pick up the phone and be honest about that, arrange a meeting. If there's nothing there immediately, then at very least follow up passively. What I mean by follow up passively is make sure the people are in your network on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or wherever else it happens you are. Periscope. Hello, morning Alpha Tech System. I'm trying to remember everyone's name and I don't always get it right. But yes, good morning. So either follow up actively, pick up the phone, talk to the people, send emails to people, but make sure that they're personal, or follow up passively. That means making sure that they're Of course, Ed, sorry, yes, only saw you last week. Of course, follow up with people passively. Make sure that you read their content, and this takes time, and a load of people will say they don't have time. Hello from Brazil, this is one of the things that I'm loving about Periscope. My audience is growing every time I do a scope. Follow up passively. Read their stuff, read the content that they put out, take the time to, like Neil Gill has done here, he's coming and watching my stuff. He's moving into my space, and I really, really appreciate that. I'm always really flattered that people take the time to do so. So flatter other people, go and have a look at their content, their blogs, their LinkedIn Pulse articles, research. Thank you, Neil. That's made me chuckle. Follow up, share a bit of their content. See, I've written this on a LinkedIn Pulse article myself this morning. Like it, comment on it, share it. Show them that you're interested in their stuff, because this morning, #1, I'm not selling anything, my friends. I'm just giving people some networking advice. I can sell you something if you'd like. If you're going to ask the question, what am I selling? The answer is, of course, what are you buying, mate? So that's networking audit. Make sure every week you go through your stuff, you go through those people you've met, and take some action. I know this is really old school stuff. I know that a load of you know this, but I also know that a load of you don't do it. I know that a load of people never follow up, even though they think they're doing so. Someone said to me the other day, and this is, I think, was really intriguing to me. I was going to say shocking, but really intriguing at least. They said, oh, but if they're interested in what I do, if they want to buy from me, they'll remember me and they'll come to me. I'm afraid they just won't. I'm afraid they just won't, because other stuff and real life gets in the way. You always have to be the person who makes the first move on stuff. I'm going to stick around for a few minutes. If you've got any questions about networking, please ask them. Type me a comment here. Be very happy to answer it. Tell you the other thing I'm going to say, and I've talked about this a lot over the last few days. I think that a lot of social media managers must be quite scared about Periscope at the moment, because you can't automate Periscope. You can't automate this conversation. You can't automate the banter between Neil Giller and I. You can't automate the fact that I now feel that I know Neil a little bit better because I've watched some of his scopes and he's engaged on some of mine as well. And I think this actually brings you much. After all this time, I still worry about follow-up. I think I'm intruding. Going to come back to that, Sam. Really going to come back to that because it's important. Neil Giller says it's real. I think Periscope is real. Periscope is raw. I'm as excited about Periscope now, today, on the whatever day it is in... God, it's August already. Who knew? I'm just as excited about Periscope on Friday the 14th of August as I was in July 2008 about Twitter. I think that Periscope is going to be massive because it puts me in direct conversation with you. It doesn't put me in virtual conversation. It's not, I put something out there, you read it 3 days later, or even 3 minutes later. It's lovely and it's instant, and you get the real person every time. So if I've had a day when I'm out at networking events and you get me with the hair product and probably better shaved, and I'm probably wearing my trademark specs as well, or you get a day like today when I'm working from home and it's dress down Friday for me. But I think Periscope is really going to change the game, and something else will come after Periscope as well. It's really going to change the game about social media. You don't perry at night. Interesting about audiences, Neil, just to pick up on that. What's my day job, Hasrick? I'm going to tell you, I've left it. Oh, no, I haven't. It's here. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. My day job is that I'm the author of a book called Business Networking for Dummies. That's me. This is a brief commercial break. There's my book. I also speak in a lot of places. People pay me, which is very flattering, to stand up and talk about networking. I also train people in networking skills. I'm also writing book number 2. I signed a contract. I told you I wasn't selling anything. I signed a contract this week. Thank you very much, Bushy Blinds. And I really strongly suspect, here's something else about Periscope, Bushy Blinds, and I'm going to relate directly to you. I strongly suspect that you're here because Neil Giller invited you, knowing where you're both based. And so every time I do a Periscope, my audience expands a little bit. The number of people who are interested in my stuff, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I'm just imagining that that's the case. But certainly, every time I come on Periscope, my audience expands a little bit. If you fancy following me on Twitter, please do, @NoRedBraces. Thank you for that, Sam. You're flattering me. I'm blushing. You can't see it through my stubble. If you fancy finding me on LinkedIn, please go and do so. I think Periscope is an absolute game changer. Promised you a tip about following up earlier on. Tell us something profound. Tell us something profound. Don't know if you're in business for yourself, Hasrick, or whatever your name is. I don't know your name. I haven't looked at your profile yet. I'll do it when I'm finished. But something profound is this. People used to worry a lot about building their list. People used to worry a lot about building their email list, and they knew exactly how many people they had on that list. I haven't got a Rolodex here. Or they knew exactly how many people they had in their Rolodex or in their CRM system. I think one of the brilliant things about networking in the 21st century with social media is that you've got your list, but you've also got your audience, and you actually don't know these days which members of that audience are looking at you, are paying attention. They might not be commenting on your stuff, but they might just be getting ready to buy from you, and it's actually our job to keep in touch with them. A tip that I was promising to give, here's an app which I use absolutely all the time now. It's on my phone. It's an app called TouchNote. There you go. It's called TouchNote. Every time someone books into the networking retreat, every time someone does something or connects with me in a different way where I just want to do something slightly out of the ordinary, I send them a touch note. And what a touch note is, it's actually a physical postcard like that, which gets sent to them. There's probably someone on this scope who can do something like that for you in real life as well. I love TouchNote. It costs about £1 a time. And you can actually send these cards. Stooky Bill, I'll come back to that in a second. You can actually send these cards, a TouchNote app on your iPhone, Neil, or even your Android device. TouchNote app, go and look for it, TouchNote. Neil, you can always send these. You can also send these to Australia, the US, or Europe, and it's the same price per card. And something else which I love about it, if you look at the back of the card that I've sent to someone and look at the stamp, even the stamp can be a little advert for your business. Just think about if that's going to a serviced office or something like that. Makes people feel great, I have to say, when they receive a nice shiny postcard through their door or in their pigeonhole or whatever it happens to be. Plus, it always acts as a tiny advert for your business wherever it goes. And it costs about £1. Seen it just something else, personalised. Yes, absolutely personalised. You choose your own picture to put on it. Little secret about me, my grandmother receives from me about 2 cards a week. I always take a photo or a selfie wherever I'm at, or if I'm out with my sons, I take a photo, and immediately, bish bash bosh, I've sent her a postcard and she really appreciates getting that. Same applies in business. You can do it for 99p. Use Neil Giller. Don't use TouchNote. Use Neil Giller. He'll do it for a bit. Hey, Neil. Irish Catholic family I come from. We're quite a close bunch. So yes, I keep in touch very much. Do I work for a paper company? Stooky Bill. You asked who does my hair. No one does my hair. Cheers, Bushy Blinds. I don't work for a paper company, but Neil Giller does something similar to that. But no one does my hair, Stooky Bill, but that was probably the joke. And I'm having a work from home day, so I really have just rolled out of the shower and talking to you guys this morning. That was it. Audit your networking. Follow up with people. Don't just end up with piles of business cards. Actually do something about it. Always be the first person to take action on the relationship. Always be the first person to give value in the relationship. Remember that everyone else will forget about you just as much as you'll forget about them. It's your job to keep reminding them that you exist. Use TouchNote or use Neil Giller. And also, this Periscope is a game changer. Lots of social media managers must be terrified right now. I'm going to go. It's Friday. I might come back later when the Americans are up because I quite like talking to them as well. But if you've enjoyed this, go over to Twitter and follow me there. Thank you, Hazrick. I am at No Red Braces, and I'll be keeping in touch. Have a great Friday, guys. Take care.